I waited till the gunfire stopped, and I opened the door, and there was my roommate and the guy who was my mentor for the last 5 years, laying on the floor dying. And that was the night. It changed my whole head. It changed my whole thinking. It changed my whole personality. It changed everything, man. My name is Bob. I'm a retired member of the Outlaws Motorcycle Club in Canada, and I'm chatting with Stacks.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Stacks. I'm your host, Bill Stacks, and today I got retired 1%er, Bob from Biker News Camp. What's up, Bob?
Hello, Bill. Good to meet you, bro.
You too. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. And we talked a little bit before we got to this point, and I dig the stuff you're doing. And let's tell everyone my little story here. We had fun up here in Canada back in the day.
Yeah, it was a wild story. You have quite an amazing one. Where does it start for you? Where were you born and raised, and what were you doing when you were younger?
So, see, when I was young, I was born down in Toronto, which is our big city in Canada, right? Or one of the big cities. We moved around a lot, right? So I never really hooked up a whole big friend group when I was a little fucker and nothing. Played organized sports, none of that bullshit. So I read a lot. So I got pretty smart. And then we finally settled in this little village south of a city called London, Ontario, which is like halfway between Toronto and Detroit. So it's a good middle place for people that are possibly running contraband or whatever they may be doing. You know what I mean? So along the way there, I went to like what we call a community college. I think down there would be the same as a state school, right? So, you pay your tuition. They do a lot of trades and stuff like that. While I was in college, I started, partaking in the buying and selling of green products. And I never really bothered with my diploma, my course. And I got to working in a strip joint in the city.
Was that your first job, doing the strip joint thing?
Pretty much. I was like a DJ in college. We go out and do university parties and high school dances. So yeah, aside from summer jobs that I had during school, that was my first full-time gig. And that's a whole different world, man. It's a whole world inside its own little world. It's a so I stayed 12 years.
To have a lot of incidents happen in the club, and were there a lot of bikers that would come in?
Well, that was it, right? So I seen all these girls, and they would go, and they were pretty girls, and they go in to do their thing. They're dancing for customers and make $100. Then they go see that guy in the corner and into the bathroom, and up the nose that $100 went, and back out, rinse and repeat. It just happened all day long, all night long, every day of the week. I was like, holy Christ, look at all the money in this place. And then it happened that London had a chapter of the Outlaws in it. And the Outlaws started, well, they didn't start because I was there. I just noticed them because I became aware. And the Outlaws were regulars, so they hung out in that bar.
Was there any incidents with them in the club? Like fighting, where they'd be fighting and stuff like that?
Geez, yeah, they basically ran the joint. So, if the doorman couldn't get a customer out, they sure as hell would. I saw some crazy smackdowns and beatdowns and out-and-out robberies. The crazy you ever saw, right? One night, and I've been there a long time by this point, I was kind of in my head getting ready to get off the pod. I've been hanging out with the club at this point for 5 years. So two of the members, one was my roommate, and he was the chapter boss at the time. His road name was Willie, and another younger fella, but he was a full patch guy, and he taught me a lot. Mr. J came in, and they got in a fight with a couple blood brothers. And
one of these guys, right? Is it one of these?
No, next photo, not this one. That's Mr. J. That's Mr. J. He was such a good man. He was a fucking wonderful man. And that's the guys that brought me up. That's Good Times in Spaz and Homes. And they brought my generation into the club as members. And that's Willie. That's the guy who was my roommate. He was like 6'5", maybe, 300 and something pounds. He was a big man. And he liked to have a heater in his pocket too.
Yeah. You said this guy was one of the guys, right? They were hanging that night, and walk me that night.
So that night they were hanging around. They were out having a laugh. They were getting these things that they were magnets or something. You put them on somebody's license plate, and it looked like our tag. But in the middle it said "I'm," just for a laugh. And they were sticking on cop cars and taking pictures of them. Now the cops caught them doing one of their cars, and they ran over the beef, having you should have saw it. It was so funny, bro. And we're having a laugh and this and that. And these two other guys were in the bar, and Willie had a beef with them. They had been arrested for importing, and they got bail. And he didn't think didn't really add up, right? And then while they were on bail, they got wrapped into another investigation and arrested again and got bail again. So he was demanding to see some sort of disclosure. He wanted to see the disclosure. And the one brother, these two guys were blood brothers, didn't want up the disclosure. So apparently, from what I heard down the road, they were talking about him. So anyway, they got in a bit of a fisticuff in the bar. And the two brothers, their last name was Lewis, got thrown out of the bar. And then they went out the back door. And then Willie and Mr. J hung out with me for a bit more. And then they went out the front door. And usually I would have followed them. But I had to change girls around who was up on stage. So I changed the girls up on stage. And then I got right back into my behind them position. And I heard a gun going off. Bam, 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 bam. And I'm like, what the? Because I knew that Willie and Jody didn't have no guns on them. Or Mr. J, sorry, Jody, same guy. So, I waited till the gunfire stopped, and I opened the door, and there was my roommate and the guy who was my mentor for the last 5 years, laying on the floor dying. And that was the night. It changed my whole head. It changed my whole thinking. It changed my whole personality. It changed everything, man. I ran in the bar and I yelled at the bar owner, "Hey, bro, call an ambulance." And he did that. There's another supporter there, and he came outside with me. And I said, I didn't find Mr. J yet. So we walked around the back of the pickup truck, and Mr. J was in the same condition, right? So the poor guys, they walked into an ambush, and they didn't even have a chance to defend themselves or anything, right? They just walked in, and the guy started squeezing.
Wow. So do you think it was the people that were in the bar prior?
Yeah. So it took about a year for these two guys to finally get arrested. The younger one turned himself in, and then a week later, they arrested the older one just outside of Toronto, which is like 2 hours east of where I'm at. And they went to trial for the double murder. And the defense, as far as it was, I left the country. At the start of the prelim, I left the country. I didn't want involved. And the Crown, which is a prosecuting attorney, had subpoenaed me to be a Crown witness. And by this time, I joined the club, and I was a full patch member, man. So I left the country. I think I was 4 or 5 months into having my patch. And I went to England. We'll do the England story later. But anyways, when I got back, their defense was that Willie had shot at them first with an old 38 and missed. And they shot back to defend themselves, and they beat the charges.
Wow, they beat the charges?
Yeah, there's a cabbie sitting right there as an eyewitness. They never checked the victims for, you know how you're watching TV, you see all that GSR, gunshot residue. Willie was left-handed. That would have been the first thing I asked him, what hand was his gun in? But again, it's not my job to convict somebody. So
yeah, but so when you were there, did you see a gun on the ground?